Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Innovate-A-Thon Discussions, where we cover everything going on in the world of innovation, creativity, workforce advancement, entrepreneurial thinking, and enabling the next generation to do good in the world. Today we're going to explore interesting topics with mentors, students, and innovators who are shaping the future. We're thrilled to welcome one of our Innovate-A-Thon student alumni and past IIT participants to today's IIT discussion, Noah Young. This is Noah. Noah's participated in many Innovate-A-Thon programs, securing a few wins along the way, and he's always delivered outstanding results, and he's been an exceptional team member to all of his teams. And Noah is now looking to take the next step with IIT by becoming a mentor for future participants. So we're going to get into a little bit of his insights and experiences to kind of help guide the next generation of innovators and students who become part of our program. So Noah, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your academic background, what you were studying when you joined the Innovate-A-Thon program the first time?
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Natalie. So I'm Noah Young. I am a student at Boise State University. I'm in the Engineering Plus program with an emphasis on mechanical engineering. Why I'm not a mechanical engineer is a long story, but I have a wonderful time. I've had a very diverse education. I've worked with a lot of unique people. And the Innovate-A-Thon, when I first joined it, was almost exactly a year ago. It was March of 2024. I took a chance on a program that I'd heard about in an email, and I had an application that I submitted late, and I was surprised to get a response. It ended up being really cool. It was against two other teams from Boise State University, the new product development lab. That's a little bit scary. We have a dedicated lab on campus of students that all they do is develop new products, and that's what that Innovate-A-Thon was about. And we were also against the EIS team. Now, the EIS at Boise State University is the Engineering Innovation Studio, and well, they've got access to a whole array of tools and technology. The last three of us were kind of put into a group, and well, I guess you got to root for the underdogs because somehow we won and we had a wonderful time doing it. But after that experience, I've learned a lot going through the Innovate-A-Thon. I've had a good time in every one of them.
Mm-hmm. How many Innovate-A-Thons have you done at this point?
So the first one was Innovation for Agriculture, and we designed a new tool to help remove barbed fittings. The second one was designing a pipeline for prosthetics into remote regions, specifically the Mwanza district in Tanzania. The third was designing a low-cost prosthetic that could compete with the more common 4-bar prosthetics. And so we worked on designing a mechanical knee for above the knee amputees.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool project. It's made almost completely out of hardware store parts is what we came up with. We ended up bringing in first place because of that. And I know one of my teammates actually has an internship now lined up with the prosthetic studio we were working with. So that's really cool to see the impact from that. And the other ones were sustainable packaging and most recently agricultural innovations. And we designed this sort of a sensor suite idea that we're thinking about implementing in the future.
You've done 5 then. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah, 5 of them. I've had a wonderful time. I'm shifting more towards the mentor role because I've had a really good time, but I really just want to make sure that other people get this opportunity because I do think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you for that, Noah. I'm just going to go into a little bit of background on the Innovate-A-Thon program. Innovate-A-Thon is actually powered by Education to Success, which is our parent company, and it's a nonprofit organization dedicated to fostering the next generation of innovators like Noah and Oliver and our Orange team who we just had on last week. And our focus is kind of just on addressing the world's most pressing challenges like sustainability initiatives, prosthetic device kits for people in developing regions, agriculture issues, just things like that, ways that we can make the world better through different things, different initiatives, different things to give back to the world. We connect university students from different academic disciplines with industry professionals, mentors, community leaders, and philanthropists to collaborate on solving these real-world problems through a series of immersive 3-week Innovate-A-Thon sprints. So students work alongside these experts to develop technically sound and economically viable solutions to these problems. So having done 5 of these Innovate-A-Thons, Noah, what would you say kind of inspired you to become a mentor for the future Innovate-A-Thon participants?
Sure. I have had the opportunity to receive mentorship from a lot of folks, and having done 5 Innovate-A-Thons, I have a little bit of experience under my belt. Now, I don't know a lot, but I do think that one of the things I really want to work on is communication, and I really enjoy seeing other people grow. And I think this is a really cool opportunity to do that. So if I can work in more of a mentor role in the future events, I'd love to do that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. What advice would you give to students in your mentor role? I know we haven't like touched on like what you'll be doing exactly as a mentor yet. We'll get there, not in this podcast, but we'll get there. But
Yes.
what would you do like to kind of give students advice who are kind of feeling like they're a little lost or they're a little confused or it's their first time around? Like what advice would you give to them to succeed in their Innovate-A-Thon program?
Be fast. It's a 3-week sprint. One of the things that people often get caught up with is they try and make it too big of a project. They get caught up in the weeds. I think that one of the most important things I've learned is that having a plan is good, but start moving on something immediately.
Mm-hmm.
The teams that do the best are the teams that day one they got moving, and they may not have had a really good, well-baked idea from day one. You don't have to. But
Mm-hmm.
as you move forward, you can always return to previous steps. You can always return to your ideation phase, your brainstorming phase, and look at it, because you'll learn more as time goes on. It's a dynamic process. You might not have interviews until the week before you present. So if you're wanting to interview people in industry or people in the community, which is things that we've done in the past, it takes time to set stuff like that up. And that may change your entire solution. And a week
Mm-hmm.
before, that's a bit of a crunch, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So be willing to take risks, be willing to go fast,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get too caught up in the weeds, especially early on.
I think that was kind of similar to what Orange Team was saying last week. Oliver and Parita, they were saying that whenever they got the initial problem statement, or at least Oliver, whenever he got the initial problem statement, he started working on it before his team had even met, and he started developing like a plan of, okay, this is our plan of action, this is what we're going to be doing as a team. And then they kind of broke up into like their stations of, this is what Parita is going to be working on, this is what Oliver is going to be working on, this is what McKenna is going to be working on. So kind of setting like a clear timeline of what it is that they expect of their teammates and what it is they expect of themselves to kind of push their innovation forward. So they're really in that aspect of acting fast, getting their stuff in order very quickly to have the best results they can get. What would you say is something that has given you, like, was there any sort of challenge that you faced during your multiple IAT experiences?
Speed is a big one, honestly, and I keep touching back on that, but it's very hard to light a fire under some folks. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you don't have good coordination early on, that can cause a lot of problems. Or
Mm-hmm.
motivation. If this last Innovate-A-Thon, for example, happened right during spring break and midterms.
Yeah.
So for the other students on my team, and myself included, is kind of a secondary concern, which really was a little bit unfortunate because we weren't able to spend the time that we wanted to on it. But we pulled through. We came out with a really cool result. But if you don't start fast, and especially if you don't have that early dedication, you're mentioning
Mm-hmm.
Oliver talking about starting early. A lot of times, for me at least, I want to wait till the program starts because I want everybody working on it. I don't know if people are going to start immediately, and coming in with an idea right away may not be the wisest thing to do. You
Yeah.
influence people that way, push them in a direction, lock them in. But
Mm-hmm.
it's to each their own. Everybody's got their own unique strategy, and I do think that that's a very strong way to go if that's the way you choose to go.
Mm-hmm. One thing too that I think you had a really good point on is I do kind of like the idea that Oliver had where he started before, but at the same time I've seen other teams do that where they started before and then the three of them came together and they were like, well, I have this different idea, I have this different idea, and I have this different idea. So it's kind of like the aspect of how are we going to make this work as a team, how are we going to like collaborate and communicate to make sure we have the best effective solution while we're all agreeing on it at the same time versus just, this is my idea, we're going to do it, guys. So
Yeah.
I kind of think that's a very important aspect to have as well. What do
Well,
you
and
feel? Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to tack on to that is that, I had Kiet and Samuel. So Kiet's a
Mhm.
computer science major. Samuel is, uh, his major's escaping me, but he's a master's or PhD in some sort of bioscience. I do apologize if he's watching this. I don't mean to offend him.
Yeah, okay, I can't
I
remember
really
either.
wanted to wait to hear their perspective because Kit had went on a greenhouse tour. Samuel
Mhm.
has a background directly in sort of this bioengineering side of agriculture. And coming in with a plan right away, I could do that. I
Yeah,
absolutely could, but it may not be as well informed as one of them going into it because they
yeah.
definitely have some more background on that whole
Because
situation.
you'd be missing like those factors, like the direct experience that they had, number one, from going to that experience that you didn't have the opportunity to go to. So you'd be kind of missing out on like the background knowledge that they had just from that alone.
Exactly. And if they had a really cool insight, who am I to say that my plan is, you know, what we're going with right off the bat?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What is like the biggest lesson that you feel you've learned from the Innovate-A-Thon program?
Be open. It's not about winning. We're all working towards the same goal. I hate to call it a competition because even though there are prizes and there are places, the end goal is the same. We're all working as a sort of team to try and solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be too concerned with winning. Have fun, try and learn, and be open to learning, and be open to listen to other people, and be open to trying off the wall ideas. Yes, it's 3 weeks. Yes, it's a tight timeline. You want to do something that's comfortable, that you don't really have to stretch yourself. But if you do stretch yourself, if you do
Mm-hmm.
something cool, you've learned from this opportunity. You've had a really awesome opportunity to communicate with people outside of your major, and you've potentially made some really awesome connections.
Yeah. And that's the thing that other participants were saying, like Orange Team was saying last time, they were like saying that they were really glad that they did this because they had the opportunity to meet students, not even just out of their major, but also like out of their university, outside of like the normal people that they would see in like their day-to-day connections through school. So they were like, that's why I like this, because it's an opportunity to get to meet people outside of my network. Usually, like even during my Innovate-A-Thon program, I was meeting engineering students, marketing students, biomedical students, and normally I would just stay in my college. Like I would just stay on my side of the college, is my library, and not go and meet them. And so it really does open up, I think, the doorway for a lot of connections that you might not normally meet. Like even me meeting you and Oliver and other students, like I'm not a student anymore, sadly. Oh my gosh, I'm old. But like it's great to be able to have those connections and like meet you guys, because I wouldn't go to like Boise, Idaho, and just like randomly go in your guys' college and like meet you guys. And like now here I have the opportunity to like make the connections with all you guys, and I'm not even in the same like career field at all. I'm a communication major, so I'm a completely different career field from you guys, and it's still like we got connected through this program, and that's one of the things that I love the most.
And I think that's a very good point that you made there. And even within a campus,
Mhm.
I've been going to BSU. I don't live on campus, so I don't have that opportunity to socialize as much as other students. And I live far enough away that it's a bit of an inconvenience to try and go and make club events, things like that.
Mhm.
So for a lot of students like myself, yeah, there may be thousands of people in your major that you pass every day
Mhm.
in the hallway. Do you ever meet them? Do you ever talk to them? I
Yeah.
know probably 5 people fairly well in the college, but
Mhm.
really working with the Innovate-A-Thon especially, it's expanded the people that I know. It's expanded what I know about the college and the services that are offered and what's going on.
Yeah.
And with that knowledge, I can help connect other students that are
Mhm.
just starting out that I wish I would have known that information in freshman, sophomore year.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, is making sure that you pass on those opportunities, but also,
Mhm.
having this opportunity to socialize and connect is huge.
And that was how I felt too, because I started the Innovate-A-Thon probably end of my junior year, like my summer of my junior year going into my senior year. But the Innovate-A-Thon program wasn't what it is today. It was like only University of Arizona students and maybe ASU students, but I think we were trying to get ASU students, something like that. So it was limited to one university, where now we have students from over 900 universities that like have the opportunity to apply and be a part of our Innovate-A-Thon program. I think our last internship, the Bear one, we had students from, I want to say like we had 15 students, so I want to say we had like 13 or 15 different universities. Like we had a very, like, this is our most diverse class of students that we had for the Innovate-A-Thon. So that was like super exciting for me, that we had students not just from like one university, but from like all over and like all different majors. So that's always like, that's just my favorite part, just like meeting all the different students, all the different mindsets, like all the different backgrounds. Because I'm like, I hear you guys projects and I'm like, I don't think I would come up with that as like a communication student. You guys come up with like some crazy ideas like all the time, and I'm like, wow, it just blows me out of the water every time.
I wouldn't discredit yourself, though. I think you might. See, that's one of the things that I've really been encouraging, because the program during the first one at BSU, the most recent set of Innovate-A-Thons, the first of the most recent set, uh, it was all engineers, and so were the following ones up until the most recent ones. And when you get a bunch of engineers, you get a bunch of very logical thinkers, but folks that don't have the sort of
Technical
communication
background.
skills
Yeah.
or sort of creativity a lot of times, because we've been put into a box in a lot of our classes. It's you got to make it out of this. It's got to be this type of material. It's got to be this length, and it's got to be
Yeah.
such and such and such and such. And just, and you know so much of what's not possible. You get told every day what's not possible. Well, somebody like yourself, not only can you communicate really well, but you don't really have that inhibition in a sense. You can say, well, what about this idea here?
Yeah,
And
that's the idea. Yeah.
we stop for a second, we think, yeah, I don't know, but it might work. And that's where some of the coolest ideas have come from. We've had some really interesting sort of off the wall ideas from what we wouldn't logically come to a conclusion from, but somebody who's had that sort of outside perspective, I guess. Might call
And
it.
that, so yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because that was kind of the reason that we like started seeking students outside of just like their traditional, like what, like for this internship, do we need strictly strictly engineering majors? And we were like, well, we should bring in like marketing majors or students from the business college or students from here, because we were kind of like, well, we should see how they can like kind of contribute to the design of this project and see how can they market this, like how can they push this out without like being so kind of stuck in just this engineering focused background. And I think that it has been amazing to see like how they can all work together from the different backgrounds and kind of contribute to those crazy off the wall ideas that like you might not necessarily get. But that also kind of leads into my next question. You're always so positive. You have such a positive outlook on the Innovate-A-Thon program and just everything in general. So what would you say to teams that don't always win their Innovate-A-Thon experience? Like, what advice would you give them, or what would you say to them?
It's really disheartening to not be in the top 3, especially if there's a lot of teams competing. Like in the most recent one, our team was 4th or 5th. We didn't know because we weren't in the top 3. And that can be crushing if you let it crush you. But really, again, I keep returning to the notion that this is not a competition. This is you collaboratively working alongside multiple teams to solve a problem for a client. And that doesn't necessarily mean that your solution wasn't the best. It doesn't mean that it was bad. It just means that in that moment, communication was key. And for one reason or another, somebody else's communication was better. And that goes to the importance of communication, the importance of having those skills under your belt: graphic design, writing, slide making. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't communicate it in 15 minutes, it isn't worth anything. And a lot of cases, that's the trouble that we had with engineers, is if you have a team full of engineers, they're not good at communicating. But no, don't beat yourself up about it. It's a cool program. You're still getting a scholarship. You're still having fun. You're still learning. Make the most of it. That's why you're really there, is to learn and make connections. The scholarship, awesome, but it's secondary. You're trying to solve that problem.
That was even, so it wasn't, I feel like it was hard on the students as well, just like not placing like first, second, or whatever the placements are. But it was also very hard for our judges. I was speaking with one of our judges after, and they were like, oh my gosh, this was so hard. Like they had such a hard time choosing. So it's I feel like equally as hard on the judges as it is on the students to kind of decide, okay, this is a winning project, because the judges, like, well, all of us, we love and care about all our students. We are so excited and so proud of all the hard work you guys do. So it's like just a very hard thing for us to choose. Okay, you get first, you get second. I could never choose. I would be way too biased. I can never choose. I don't think I'll ever be allowed to be a judge. Maybe like 10 years from now when I'm much more distant or something, but I wouldn't be allowed to choose. I'd be like, I'd be like biased. I couldn't choose. But I really like your advice that it's about making the connections and it's about kind of just the experience and learning and growing, not just about like getting first place or getting the most money, whatever it is like that. Um, Last question, unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about, but what advice would you give to students who are considering applying to the Innovate-A-Thon and who might be like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the right ideas. What advice would you give to them based on your multitude of experiences with Innovate-A-Thon?
Absolutely. There's a lot of doubt that surrounds folks, especially in the college level. There's that sort of imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and I have it. Everybody has it, I think, to some extent. It's very difficult to get over that, but you are good enough. It doesn't matter if you've just gotten out of high school and this is your freshman year of college. It doesn't matter if you've been out of school for 20 years and working in industry and you've come back and this is something cool that you want to do because you're starting your educational career again. We have people that have participated in the Innovate-A-Thon from all walks of life. And I really want to stress that this is an experience for you to expand your horizons. We're not here to judge you, although there is a judging portion. We're not here to judge you individually.
Yeah.
We're, there, this whole program is for students to learn and just do it. It's a very light commitment. It's 3 weeks and only about a meeting once every one of those weeks. You get to meet some people. It's usually in the evenings. It's very easy to make time. If you can make time, do it. If you can't, apply anyway and see if you can make time by the time the applications get checked on. Because I submitted an application blindly right before it was due, and well, that's how this all started, and I had a good time. I didn't think I could fit it in my schedule, but I did, and I had a fun time doing it. So really just pull the trigger. If you're worried about it, don't. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You can always rescind your application, but you can never reapply it once the date's passed.
Unless we extend the deadline, which you do every once in a while. But
yes, you have extended the deadline several times, and I've urged people to do it because I know quite a few people that'd be excellent for the program, but they get stuck in that whole idea of they're not good enough, they don't have the right ideas, they don't have the time. But it's just
and I've
do it.
seen that with many
It's fun.
students. They've been like, I don't have the time, and then one of us will get lucky, we'll convince them, and then they come up and they win it, or they have the most amazing ideas ever. It's really just about like, just apply, because you never know what could happen. And even if you don't get in for like necessarily this internship cycle that you're expecting to, you could get into
get on your radar.
Yeah. Like we had a student in the last one, and he actually wasn't even like originally interested in the Bear Innovate-A-Thon. He was interested in the battery one because that was like a project that he was working on. And I was like, no, please apply. And he ended up loving it. And he's like now he's doing our next Innovate-A-Thon. So you could apply and not even be super interested in it. You could have a great time, think it's something not up your alley, and it could be up your alley, and you could have amazing results from it and go from there.
Well, absolutely, and I really think for me, that sort of experience was the second and third Innovate-A-Thons I was a part of with prosthetics. I know nothing about prosthetics. I know very little about biology. I know very little about kinematics and all that, but when it comes to projects like that, I had two really awesome individuals on my team. One was I believe, a biology student in one case, and in another case, we had an engineer who was also a track student. And being in track, they knew a lot about how to track motion because they'd been set up with the probes and everything to match their running form. And so they had a very sort of keen idea of how we would actually measure sort of the success of a new prosthetic knee, to check gait and to measure, the impact that it has on the person.
Yeah.
So, so you never know, and you don't have to be an expert, but you can bring something to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I'm really glad you bring up, because a lot of times I feel like students might be discouraged. Like they could have that feeling of, oh, I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not an engineering student. But we've had students from all over apply. We've had students from many different disciplines and different concentrations, majors, everything applies. So I appreciate that insight.
And I don't know if I mentioned. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I don't know if I mentioned, but during the last Innovate-A-Thon, we had folks that were not only communications majors like yourself, but also educational majors. And it's really interesting to see, because a lot of times when you're implementing a solution, a huge part of it is communication, but also education, which is in
Yeah.
a sense, a subset of that, because you've really got to sort of tell people how to use your solution, how to implement it,
Hmm.
why it's better. And those folks have a very keen understanding of how to communicate that. And I do think that
Yeah.
that's something that is very cool if you can bring that to the table, even if you don't necessarily have, a lot of background or knowledge on that specific subject.
Mhm. That was something that kind of stood out to me about the prosthetics innovate-a-thon, because I feel like that one was very focused on explaining your idea and educating about the prosthetics in general, and like about like limb loss. And I learned a lot about it that I previously did not know. And that was just as a bystander in the innovate-a-thon, like just as like a student helper. Like I wasn't even a mentor or a student or anything like participant wise, but I feel like just from watching you guys present your ideas and like educating about what it was that you guys were working on, I learned a great amount about like what it is to have to use prosthetics and to face limb loss. So that was also something that was very like exciting and enriching for me to experience, I think.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. Just getting exposure to those other fields. And that's something I've been really wanting to encourage, especially newer students, folks that are
Mhm.
freshmen, sophomores, to apply for an experience like this, because you get exposed to prosthetics that you may not have known about. You may not have known about the industry, but suddenly you might want to pursue a degree in
Mhm.
sort of this sort of field. And for me, it's a little bit late in my degree path, because by the time I got the opportunity to do the Innovate-A-Thon, I was the summer after my junior year or heading into my
Mhm.
senior year. You can't really make a change that late in the
Oh
game to
yeah.
what you're doing. Uh, I really sort of wanted to shift into either material science or something like product development, but
Mhm.
for a student that's newer, that's a real possibility. Is
Yeah.
you could do it. You could
Yeah.
switch over to marketing, get a business
Mhm.
minor, whatever you're wanting to do, whatever part of this really speaks to you. It opens your eyes.
To a lot of different possibilities that are out there. Well, I think that's all that I had for today's Innovate-A-Thon discussion. Thank you, Noah, for coming on. It's very deeply appreciated. We look forward to having you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point, and we'll definitely have you on as a mentor for future Innovate-A-Thons. Thank you for all your hard work and for everything, Noah.
Well,
And
thanks for having me and making the time.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I hope everybody watching gained something from this. I hope you guys learned something or just had a good time with us. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Hey, take care.